What's happening to your pension in 2025? Could new banking rules make it harder to access your money? Or will they finally offer the security pensioners have been asking for? David here, and today, I have an important update that could affect every pensioner in the UK. The DWP is making 3 major changes to pension-related bank accounts in 2025, but the real question is, how will they impact you? Will your pension be delayed if you don't comply? Could your withdrawals be restricted? And what happens if you don't open this new type of account the government is introducing? Some pensioners may find these rules helpful, but for others, they could cause real headaches. One thing is certain, you need to be prepared before these changes take effect. Because if you don't, you might be caught off guard when trying to access your pension next year. But here's the good news. You still have time to act. And in this video, I'll break down exactly what's changing, how it will impact your finances, and what you can do now to stay ahead. So, if you want to protect your pension and avoid unnecessary delays, stick with me until the end. And before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because staying informed today means securing your future tomorrow. Rocket, the UK pension system is undergoing one of its biggest transformations in years, and if you rely on your state pension, these changes could directly impact how you access, manage, and use your money. With 2025 just around the corner, the Department for Work and Pensions, DWP, has confirmed that pensioners will need to adjust to new banking regulations, including a mandatory account requirement, stricter transaction monitoring, and additional verification steps. But what does this really mean for you? Could these rules make life easier, or will they create new hurdles for pensioners trying to withdraw their hard-earned money? Many people are already voicing their concerns, and if you're wondering how these changes will affect you, stay with me, because I'm breaking it all down step by step. The first big shift involves a new type of pension-only bank account. Yes, you heard that right. From 2025, pension payments will no longer be deposited into just any bank account. Instead, every pensioner will be required to have a designated pension account solely for receiving pension funds. If you're currently using your regular bank account for everything, whether it's paying bills, shopping, or withdrawing cash, this change could mean a complete shift in how you handle your finances. The government says this move is designed to prevent fraud and mismanagement of pension funds, but many pensioners are questioning whether it's really necessary. If you've been managing your money perfectly fine for years, why should you now be forced to open a separate account? And what restrictions will come with it? Well, that's where things get even more interesting. Unlike a standard bank account, these new pension-only accounts will have specific rules attached. Some reports suggest there could be daily withdrawal limits, meaning you won't be able to take out your entire pension in one go, even if you need it. This is raising concerns, especially among pensioners who prefer withdrawing large sums for budgeting purposes. Additionally, if you frequently transfer money to family members or move funds between accounts, you might face additional verification steps before completing transactions. But here's the kicker: if you don't set up this new account before the deadline, your pension payments could be delayed or even suspended until you comply with the new system. And that's not the only change coming your way. Alongside the new account requirement, banks will now be closely monitoring pension-related transactions. What does that mean for you? Simply put, your bank will be required to report any unusual activity to the DWP. Now, you might be thinking, I have nothing to hide, so why should I be worried? The problem is, what banks consider unusual activity isn't always clear-cut. If you suddenly withdraw a larger amount than usual, send money abroad, or make frequent transfers that don't fit your regular pattern, your account could be flagged for review. This means you may be required to provide extra verification before accessing your money, and in some cases, transactions could be temporarily blocked while the bank conducts its checks. The DWP argues that these new measures will help combat pension fraud, which has been on the rise in recent years. Scammers have stolen billions from pensioners through fraudulent schemes, and tighter security measures could make it harder for criminals to access pension funds. But at the same time, these rules could inconvenience thousands of honest pensioners who just want to use their money freely. If you don't use online banking or aren't comfortable with digital security checks, you might find it frustrating to constantly verify transactions or prove your identity before moving your own money. And speaking of verification, That brings us to the third and perhaps most controversial change: biometric verification for pension access. Starting in 2025, pensioners will be required to go through digital identity verification to access their pension. This means using biometric technology like facial recognition, fingerprint scanning, or other digital security measures. If you're comfortable with technology, this might not sound like a big deal. But for the 2.4 million pensioners in the UK who don't use smartphones or online banking, this change could pose serious challenges. Imagine trying to access your pension, only to find out that you need a compatible smartphone or a computer with a camera just to verify your identity. What happens if you don't have one? What if the system fails to recognize you? Could your pension payments be delayed or blocked simply because of a technical issue? These are real concerns that many pensioners are already raising. The government insists that these measures are necessary to prevent identity fraud, but critics argue that they disproportionately affect older pensioners, particularly those who aren't comfortable with digital technology. While there may be alternative ways to verify identity, such as visiting a local DWP office or using a bank's in-person services, these options could be inconvenient for those who live in rural areas or have mobility issues. Some experts believe that if the government doesn't offer clear support and guidance, many pensioners could face unnecessary delays and difficulties in accessing their money. So, what should you do to prepare for these changes? The first step is understanding the requirements and making sure you comply before the new rules take effect. If you haven't already, check with your bank to find out how they plan to implement the new pension-only accounts. Ask whether they'll be offering easy transition options or if you'll need to open a new account yourself. If you're not comfortable with online banking, now might be the time to start learning, as many of these new verification processes will rely on digital technology. You don't need to become an expert overnight, but getting familiar with basic online banking features could help you avoid future complications. Another important step is staying informed. These rules could continue to evolve, and the last thing you want is to be caught off guard by additional changes. Make sure you keep up with updates from the DWP, your bank, and trusted news sources to ensure you're always prepared. If you're worried about how these changes might impact you personally, consider speaking to a financial advisor or someone who can help you navigate the new requirements. Finally, if you have any concerns about privacy or financial control, it's worth raising these issues with your bank or local representatives. While security measures are important, pensioners should still have the right to access their money without unnecessary restrictions. If enough people speak out, the government may be forced to reconsider certain aspects of these new rules or at least provide better support for those who might struggle with the transition. At the end of the day, these banking changes are designed to protect pensioners, but they also come with potential downsides. While some pensioners may welcome the added security, others might find the new requirements too restrictive or inconvenient. The key is to prepare ahead of time so that when 2025 arrives, you're not scrambling to figure out how to access your pension. If you take the right steps now, you can avoid delays, unnecessary stress, and financial disruptions. So, what do you think about these new pension banking rules? Do you believe they'll help prevent fraud, or do you think they'll create more problems than they solve? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this information helpful, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an important pension update. Your financial security matters, and I'm here to keep you informed every step of the way.